Kia ora. Thank you for coming. It's an important day, so it's good that you're here. On Friday, our two national executives met and agreed to call joint meetings of our more than 60,000 members who work in early childhood services, primary and secondary schools across New Zealand. The meetings will include principals, teachers, teacher aides, administrators and other support staff. You may be wondering why we are doing something on this scale. It's our view that the government's review of education funding is a once-in-a-generation opportunity to ensure that we resource education so that all children and young people get the best possible teaching and learning. We must get it right. PPTA, NZEI and the rest of the education sector have been calling for changes to funding for a long while. We need to think hard about improving the way we fund and resource education, particularly to address equity. Speak to any educator or parent and they would agree that we need to increase investment in teaching and learning, especially for our students with the most challenges. Earlier this year, Cabinet signed off 7 proposals for change, and the Ministry of Education set up an advisory group, which we are on, and we're actively working in good faith. At the same time, the Ministry is out selling their ideas at public meetings. While there are elements of the 7 proposals that we want to engage in, particularly the opportunities to improve equity funding, we have some serious concerns about many aspects. In particular, the global budget. This is a way of funding schools that creates significant risks for students and the entire public education system. It means that schools will get a global budget that includes all staffing and funding. The proposal is essentially bulk funding. School leaders will be forced to make the trade-offs between teaching staff and other resources. The sector rejected this controversial policy in the 90s and is even less keen on it now. We're surprised and disappointed to see it back on the agenda. The bottom line is that the so-called global budget would undermine quality teaching and learning by forcing boards to hire fewer teachers, increase class sizes and narrow the curriculum. The education sector is crying out for better funding to respond to the needs of our students. So Cabinet proposes cash up your teachers. You need more laptops, a school nurse or an additional teacher aide? Knock yourself out, cash up a teacher. As we all know, parents resoundingly rejected increased class sizes in 2012, and we believe they will also join us in rejecting the global budget now. We need better funding, not bulk funding.
Kia ora tātou. I'm Louise Green, President of NZEI Te Reo and a school principal for the past 20 years. Following on from Angela, the government has also missed an historic opportunity to address underfunding of the education system, particularly the resourcing of our youngest and most vulnerable learners. There is no evidence that the sector wants the global budget and also no evidence that it would make the education system work any better for our children and young people. In fact, Treasury has said the global budget would have no immediate impact on student achievement at all. People say, follow the money when you want to know how something works. We know that the amount and the way funding is delivered to a system changes the behaviour of people in that system. We believe the experience of bulk funding in early childhood education now and with our support staff in schools already makes it abundantly clear that it incentivises downward pressure on salaries, the employment of cheaper teachers and non-qualified staff, the loss of professional development and learning, and the inability to develop career pathways and greater professionalisation of the workforce. That means less quality, and that's not good for our kids. Parents on boards should not be put in the position of making trade-offs between teachers and other resources. Treasury has noted that the global budget would require more sophisticated financial management by schools. Giving parent volunteers more complex and difficult financial responsibilities makes no sense and takes away their focus from student learning. The Prime Minister, John Key, has said that the funding proposals won't progress if the sector doesn't want them. The feedback from our sector so far is that there is no interest in the failed model of bulk funding. We want to send a strong signal to Cabinet before it meets in October that this proposal is not acceptable. Instead, we want to talk about equity and more investment in education to ensure all our kids succeed. So, we are taking the proposals out to all our members to ensure they are informed and can agree next steps. This is too important an issue not to have all educators engaged in the conversation. We also want parents and the wider community involved in this. The first meeting will be held in the Auckland Town Hall on Monday the 5th of September, and there will be nearly 50 meetings in every town and city around the country over the following fortnight, finishing with a final meeting in the Vodafone Arena in Manukau City on Friday the 16th of September. Our combined membership will vote on whether or not to reject bulk funding, to ask the government to go back to the drawing board and engage and involve with the sector, and to commit to a campaign with our communities for better funding for education. We have never undertaken meetings of this scale before, and it was not a decision taken lightly by our executives. The meetings will be in either the morning or the afternoon to reduce disruption to children's learning. We know this creates extra pressure on already busy parents, but we believe parents and teachers have a shared interest in getting the very best teaching and learning for our kids. No parent and no teacher wants a system with fewer teachers, larger classes, and less curriculum choice. We all want better funding, not bulk funding.